Hey guys, Josh Tyler here with Savage Gentleman. I'm joined by my buddy Will Jenkins with Try Upland Game. Took me out on my very first bird hunt. As you can see, we had some luck here. But tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing with your organization.
Yeah, so Try Upland is we're building a community to introduce more people to upland hunting, men, women, whoever. It's a community application as well, so you can get more information at tryupland.org. But it's basically there to create a community of support and information for people that want to learn to hunt. And as far as hunting goes, upland is one of the easiest ones to get into. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, so, and I know I look like I'm a super grizzled outdoorsman, which I do spend a lot of time outdoors, but not upland game hunting. So this was a new experience for me. And now I'm going to get another new experience with learning how to process these birds. So Will has a pretty cool trick he has for processing the quail. As you can see, there's not a huge bird. He says it's super simple, super easy. So We'll see what that looks like.
All right, so quail are pretty small birds. Just kind of a handful, so as you can imagine, there's not a ton of meat. You can obviously go through and pluck the whole bird and cook them whole, like almost like a Cornish hen, something like that. But it's not that much work, but the easiest way to break them down is you lay them on their back, and you can kind of push their thighs apart, and you'll usually hear a snap, but I've already done that on this bird. It just gets the legs and thighs out of the way, and then you can feel down the sternum. There's the little tip of the sternum, and you can pluck away some of the feathers so that you can see the flesh a little easier. You can see the skin under there. You can just feel under that. You take a knife, make one little incision. You can really just kind of pull up, and there's your breast. So you've got, just stick your thumb in there. It's a little gross, but it's not too bad. And you just pull, and you've got your breast out. You might have a little work with the getting it apart from the wings. And normally I'd have my game shears that I don't have with me. But you can always just do it with a knife too. Game shears just are a little more graceful.
Well, we are savages.
Yeah, and then there you go. I mean, there's some feathers on it and a little blood, but there's your breast. The thighs are pretty small, but you can kind of just undress them. The skin comes right off. Thighs and legs are tiny, but if you get enough of them, it's not too bad. So then you've got a thigh and a leg right there. Just keep pulling apart. And again, this is where game shears come in handy, because you can just pop that joint right there, and the shears make it a little easier, but you can see the femur came right out. So they're both there. And just kind of follow along the spine a little bit. And you've got your feathery leg and thigh. And of course, game shears, or just take the knife and cut the foot off. And then same on the other side. And that's it. And that's all it takes to clean up game bird. So there's your 2 chunks of meat. Breast meat's really good to just cook however you'd cook chicken, and you can cut it off the bone. The ribs are still in the back there, but you can cut down the center line with a kitchen knife is a little better because it's a little more delicate. And you can peel them off into 2 little breast fillets, and you can do pretty much anything with it. The legs and thighs are a lot more work for a lot more meat, but if you get enough of them and throw them in the crock pot and cook them up, they come out pretty good. So that's how you quickly clean a game bird and get about 90% of the useful meat out of it, maybe even a little bit more, because all we're left with is the wings, and there's nothing there. And they don't, like a chicken sometimes has meat along the back. The only thing that's left in here to save is the heart and the gizzard if you want to. There's the gizzard, and the heart's a little messed up, but it's right back. Oh, there it is. There's the heart. As you can see, there's not a lot of meat there, so you can save those if you want, but I'm not a huge fan. And we've got pretty much all of it right there. So that's how you do it, and you can clean a a dozen pretty quick once you get rolling.
So we're going to get to finishing the rest of these birds, but before we do, I want to give a quick shout out to Orapax Game Preserve. That's where we were hunting today, and man, what an awesome place out here in Goochland County. And one of the nice things is going to these places, the barrier to entry is relatively low, because generally a guided hunt for a big game would be
Thousands, tens of thousands sometimes, $5,000-$10,000 for a guided elk, mule deer, or even a whitetail hunt can be close to that cost. So one of the reasons we focus on upland with Try Upland is the low barrier to entry, in that you can go hunt wild birds. I love hunting wild birds, but you can also go, we hunted 20 birds for under $300 today. So that's no, small fee, but it's a lot less than pretty much any other type of hunting. So not only is the barrier low to getting out there, because all you really need is some sturdy pants and a shotgun, but if you want to go and be guaranteed birds, and that serves a couple of purposes. One, it's fun, but two, it gets you really good practice. It's really hard to practice on birds without having birds. Clays are good, but they're still clays. They don't act the same. The dog's not involved. So going to a game preserve makes a huge difference, and you can practice essentially, and it's still hunting. It's not easy. It's not as hard as wild birds on public land, and I'm sure you'll hear us talking later about how not good of shots we were today. It's definitely a lot easier to get out and try than just going deer hunting and hoping for the best.
Yeah, with someone like myself, who doesn't really have any experience. Sure, I've shot and I've gone trap shooting and that sort of thing, but to just find a field and go kick through the weeds to see if I can find something, zero chance. So this was a really cool experience. I appreciate you taking me along on this trip with very, very little experience, but we had a lot of fun. We managed to get some birds. Some of you guys are probably going to ask, okay, well, what were you guys using? So I'll do a real quick, speaking of guns, this is the shotgun I was using today. It's a Belgian-made Browning 20 gauge over under. It is a beautiful rifle. It was given to me by my great-grandfather, who is an avid outdoorsman and hunter, and so this is something that I've had for a really long time and was really excited to actually get out and put it to good use. So for some of you guys that are really into firearms, I know you're chomping at the bit, like, what did you guys use? Tell us about the gun. So here you go. That's what it's about. So before we lose the rest of the daylight, we're going to finish up processing these birds. Stay tuned for the podcast. Will's going to record with us. We're going to talk about this experience, talk about hunting in general. Yep. It's a big part of being a savage gentleman, in my opinion, something that I've wanted to get into. And with Try Upland, this has been a real great entry experience. So stay tuned for more.
Just wandering around. I love it.
You can't have it. You can't have it, buddy.